In the cold, silent night of December 29, 1916, a group of Russian nobles gathered in a dimly lit palace basement in Petrograd. Their mission was clear: kill the man who had bewitched the Tsarina and held the empire in his hands. Grigori Rasputin. He was poisoned, shot, beaten, and thrown into an icy river. And yet legend says he refused to die easily. But let's pause there. What if Rasputin, the mad monk, had actually survived? What if he had lived to see 1917 and beyond? Would Russia have avoided revolution? Would the Romanovs still rule today? Would Lenin ever rise to power? Today, on Renaissance Reframed, we explore an alternate timeline, one where Rasputin survived the bullet and forever changed the course of world history. Before we imagine what could have been, we must understand what was. Grigori Yefimovich Rasputin, a peasant from Siberia, was no ordinary man. He was a wandering mystic, a self-proclaimed holy man, and a hypnotic presence who rose from obscurity to the heart of Russian power. When he arrived at the royal court, he met the desperate Tsarina Alexandra, who believed Rasputin could heal her son, Alexei, the heir to the throne suffering from hemophilia. To her, Rasputin wasn't just a man, he was a miracle. Soon, Rasputin's words carried more weight than ministers. He advised the Tsarina on state matters, influenced appointments, and made enemies among nobles, generals, and the Orthodox Church. He was seen as the puppet master behind a crumbling empire. By 1916, Russia was bleeding in World War I. The people were starving, the army demoralized, and Rasputin became the perfect scapegoat, a symbol of corruption, mysticism, and decay. So, his death was seen as salvation. But what if that death never came? Let's imagine that fateful night differently. Rasputin eats the poisoned cakes, drinks the poisoned wine, and lives. When they shoot him, he falls, but the bullet misses vital organs. He escapes, wounded but alive, rescued by loyalists who hide him in the shadows of Petrograd. When news spreads that Rasputin survived, multiple assassination attempts, he becomes more than human. He becomes legend. To the deeply religious Tsarina, this isn't coincidence. It's divine proof. She believes God himself has chosen Rasputin to guide the empire through darkness. The nobility, terrified and superstitious, fall silent. Those who plotted against him are quietly dismissed or imprisoned. And Rasputin returns more powerful than ever, now seen as the man who cannot die. In real history, just months after Rasputin's assassination, the Russian Revolution erupted. But in this alternate world, Rasputin's survival changes everything. As Tsar Nicholas II continues his disastrous role as commander-in-chief at the front, Rasputin takes full control of the capital alongside the Tsarina. He begins to consolidate power, removing liberal ministers, silencing critics, and filling the Duma with his loyal followers. His charisma and fear of divine wrath give him influence over both the church and sections of the army. But Rasputin wasn't a politician, he was a mystic. And mystics thrive on emotion, not reason. Under his influence, reforms stall, censorship tightens, and the gulf between the palace and the people widens further. By 1917, the cities are boiling with rage. But this time, when revolution breaks out, it's not the same. Because Rasputin, unlike the indecisive Tsar, acts ruthlessly. He calls upon the Cossacks to crush uprisings. He labels dissenters as enemies of God. And he presents himself as the holy protector of Russia's destiny. Let's go deeper. In real history, the February Revolution forced Nicholas II to abdicate. But in this timeline, Rasputin intervenes before things spiral. With a surviving legend growing stronger, he convinces Nicholas to temporarily step aside and let the Tsarina rule under his spiritual guidance. To the people, it appears that the monarchy has changed hands. But in truth, Rasputin now rules through the Empress. He makes peace overtures with Germany, ending Russia's participation in World War I early. This prevents millions more deaths, but at a cost. Russia exits humiliated, losing territory and respect among its allies. However, this peace allows Rasputin to focus on internal stability. He forms an Orthodox Council, claiming it will heal Russia's soul and rebuild its moral strength. The Bolsheviks, Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin, now find themselves struggling. Their revolutionary momentum weakens because the chaos that fueled it never fully arrives. There's no military collapse, no abdication, no open door to seize power. In this alternate timeline, the Soviet Union never rises. Now, imagine the 1920s under Rasputin's shadow. Nicholas II remains a figurehead. The Tsarina, guided by Rasputin, promotes a quasi-religious monarchy. The Russian Orthodox Church becomes the state's central pillar, blending divine mysticism with political power. Rasputin establishes a network of loyal monks, prophets, and mystics, a sort of spiritual police dedicated to maintaining purity in society. The empire transforms from a fragile monarchy into a theocratic autocracy, where disobedience isn't just treason, it's heresy. Western Europe, meanwhile, looks on in disbelief. While the rest of the world modernizes, Russia turns inward, mystical, and defiant. Industrial progress slows, science and innovation decline. But Rasputin doesn't care. To him, Russia's destiny isn't in machines, but in faith. Without a Bolshevik revolution, World War II unfolds differently. No Lenin, no Stalin, no Soviet Union. When Nazi Germany rises in the 1930s, it faces a very different Eastern power, a conservative, religious, monarchist Russia. Still vast, but less industrially advanced. Hitler's ambitions to conquer living space. In the East might have been easier without Soviet resistance. Or perhaps harder, if Russia's mystic nationalism fueled fanatical resistance. Britain and France might have found an uneasy ally in Tsarist Russia again, creating an entirely different alliance map. The Cold War as we know it would never exist. No Iron Curtain. No nuclear arms race. No Berlin Wall. The ideological war between capitalism and communism simply never begins. By the late 1930s, Rasputin would be an old man. If still alive, perhaps revered as a prophet, even canonized by the church. His legend would eclipse even the Romanovs themselves. He would be remembered not as a corrupt mystic, but as the man who saved Russia from collapse. The immortal monk who defied death and fate. But the cost would be immense. Without revolution, Russia never modernizes. Millions remain in poverty. Art, science, and free thought stagnate. The empire might endure, but spiritually suffocating, trapped in the web of one man's influence. In saving the monarchy, Rasputin would have damned Russia to eternal stagnation. A kingdom preserved in amber, unchanging and unfree. History remembers Rasputin as a symbol of decay, the man whose shadow darkened an empire already dying. But alternate history reminds us of something deeper. Sometimes, survival can be more dangerous than death. Had Rasputin lived, he might have delayed the fall of the Romanovs. But in doing so, he could have frozen Russia in a timeless twilight, ruled by faith, fear, and superstition. The revolution, the Soviet Union, and all the chaos that followed, as brutal as they were, also gave birth to progress, science, and modernity in a strange way. Rasputin's death cleared the way for a new world to be born. So perhaps in dying, the mad monk achieved what he could not in life. He became eternal, not through power, but through myth. History often turns on the smallest of moments. A misfired bullet, a failed assassination, a survivor who shouldn't have been. And in those fragile seconds, entire worlds are reshaped. This was one of them. If you enjoyed this journey through an alternate past, make sure to subscribe to Renaissance Reframed, where we explore the crossroads of history, imagination, and possibility.